Hello, my name's Ian Roberts. I'm the Engineering Director at Direct Parts, part of the Direct Group. The purpose of this video today is hints and tips on the removal of steering gear from your vehicle. Obviously at all times you must adhere to all health and safety guidelines from your employer, and please, where possible, always refer to the OE workshop manual. Wearing suitable PPE is a must. You are dealing with a high pressure hydraulic system, and that's a necessity. Eye protection and foot protection and head protection while working under the vehicle. The first thing you're going to do is obviously get your vehicle either onto the pit or onto the four-post ramps or whatever lifting facilities you have. At this point you need to make sure that the two road wheels are clear of the ground and actually free to turn. This will become relevant later on in the discussion. Suitable lifting gear will be needed to actually lower the steering gear down from the vehicle, whether that be from above or with a suitable gearbox lift supporting it underneath. Your first job will be to drain the hydraulic fluid from the system. Remove the pipes, obviously with the engine off, and from within the cab you can now wind the steering box gently from lock to lock to try and expel as much of the old fluid as possible into a suitable container. Once you're happy that you've drained as much of the old hydraulic fluid away as you can, remove the UJ from the input shaft of the steering gear, taking great care not to actually put any chisels or screwdrivers into that area, therefore damaging the splines on the steering box that you're going to return to us. Then disconnect the drag link from the pitman arm on the steering box, put your suitable lifting gear underneath the steering gear and loosen the bolts retaining the steering box to the chassis. You can now lower the steering gear clear of the vehicle, take it to a clean work area where you're now going to remove the pitman arm from the steering gear. This is quite an important issue. A lot of people in the industry do struggle. Request pullers. I've never used a puller in 30 years and I've never failed to get a pitman arm off. One of the key parts of removing the pitman arm, and the first step, is making sure that the two locking tabs on the nut are fully peened back. Failure to do so just results in damage to the shaft in the steering box and makes that shaft unusable. Using an appropriate tool, you need to knock back the two lock tabs fully until they're fully clear of the thread. Drive the tool into the wedge areas and making sure that the nut is fully relieved of the threads. At this point, grip the pitman arm in a vise. Using a suitable bar and socket, you can now remove the nut. When the nut is clear at the end of the shaft, you've got a small gap in between the face of the pitman arm and the nut, but the nut's still on the shaft to protect the ends of the threads. Remove the steering box from the vise. And we're going to take it here, which will be your concrete floor. At this point, because we're going to be using a hammer now to try and remove the drop arm, it'll probably come off quite easily here. On my demonstration model, it might be a bit more difficult and take a bit more work on your old unit. Most important thing now is to make sure you've got suitable eye protection. So I'll change my glasses for safety glasses. I'm going to position the steering box in such a way that the pitman arm is down onto the floor You can see why we've left the nut on to protect the end of the thread. You can rotate the box at this point, depending on where the pitman arm is sitting, to get it in a position where you're comfortable. You can make good contact at the back with the hammer, and using a sling or a long piece of cloth through the drag link eye, just to support the thing in position. Okay, when selecting a hammer, you don't need to pick anything that's overly large, something that you can control, perhaps a 1.5 pound. It would normally remove most pitman arms, because what you don't want to be doing is striking the casing and damaging it anywhere. You're looking to actually hit the arm on the back. This will shock it away from the splines, which are tapered. So once you're happy and comfortable, you're going to strike the arm on the back, and that's just gone. I've just heard it and felt it go. Then turn the box back over to check. You can now see that the pitman arm is loose. Remove the rag, lift it back up off the floor and back onto the workbench, where you can now fully remove the nut. And remove the arm, causing no damage to the threads or the locking parts of the sector shaft of the steering gear. And that's the removal of the steering box from the vehicle and your pitman arm and associated components. Thank you.